My name is Sophia. I am 29 years old. I live in a small house near the mountains of Taos, New Mexico. The days here are hot and dry. The wind is strong. The sun burns the ground in summer. But at night, the stars are bright and cold. That's when I feel most alone. Some nights I hear coyotes cry. I feel like they are calling for me too. I met Ryan when I was 22. I was new in Taos. He was tall, with brown hair and blue eyes. He had a deep voice that made me stop and listen. He worked in construction. He drove a red truck. He smiled like he owned the road. I was shy. I didn't have friends here. Ryan was kind at first. He asked me to have coffee. He picked me up from work. He opened doors. He made me feel special. I thought, maybe this is love. And I fell. Fast. After 6 months, he asked me to move in. I said yes. I was in love. He made me laugh. He held me when I cried. We watched old movies and shared ice cream. I believed this was my forever. Then one day I found out I was pregnant. I was scared. He said, "It's okay, Sophia. I'm here." I believed him. If you enjoy emotional English stories, this one is for you. Like, comment, and subscribe for more stories like this one. Our daughter was born in spring. Her name is Lily. She had Ryan's eyes. I held her close and cried. She was so small, so warm. That was the best day of my life. But something changed in Ryan after that. He was quiet. He stayed out late. He said he was tired. He said work was hard. He stopped kissing me goodbye. He stopped saying, "I love you." At first I thought he was just stressed. I waited. I cooked his favorite food. I put on lipstick. I smiled even when I felt tired. But his eyes did not see me anymore. One night he came home late again. He smelled like smoke and beer. I asked, "Where were you?" He looked at me and said nothing. Then he said, "You ask too many questions." His voice was cold. I said, "I was just worried." He laughed and walked away. I stood there, holding Lily in my arms, my heart sinking. That was the first time I felt the cold between us. He became a stranger. He talked less. He looked at his phone all the time. I tried to talk, but he did not listen. Some days he left before Lily woke up. Some nights he came home after she was asleep. When we ate together, he stared at the TV. If I said something, he rolled his eyes or sighed. Once, I asked if we were okay. He said, "Stop being dramatic." His words cut me deep. I wanted to scream, but I stayed quiet. I stayed because of Lily. I wanted her to have a father. I wanted her to have a full home. I told myself, he is just tired. He will change. But deep down, I knew the truth. The man I loved was gone. This man was different. Cold. Sharp. Distant. Still, I stayed. Every night I lay in bed and looked at the ceiling. I wondered if I was weak. I wondered if Lily would blame me one day. I wondered if love always turned into pain. One evening, I heard Ryan talking on the phone. His voice was soft, gentle. I had not heard that voice in months. He laughed. I stood in the hallway and listened. He said, "I'll see you again soon." My chest felt tight. I wanted to ask, "Who was that?" But I didn't. I just walked back to the kitchen. My hands were shaking as I washed Lily's bottle. I stared at the wall for a long time. After that night, I watched him more closely. I saw how he smiled at his phone. I saw how he checked his messages when he thought I wasn't looking. One morning, he left his phone on the table. A message popped up. It said, "Miss you already." I froze. My hands turned cold. I felt like I couldn't breathe, but I did not open the phone. I didn't need to. I already knew. I wanted to ask him. I wanted to scream. but I didn't. I picked up Lily and held her tight. She looked up at me and smiled. That smile broke me. I sat on the floor and cried. I cried for the woman I was. I cried for the love I lost. I cried for Lily. I cried because I didn't know what to do next. That night, Ryan kissed Lily on the head before bed. He didn't look at me. I stood in the kitchen watching him. My heart was full of pain, but also full of love for my child. I whispered to myself, I will protect her, no matter what. The next morning, I woke up before the sun. Ryan was already gone. His boots were not by the door. The truck was not in the driveway. He hadn't said goodbye. I sat on the edge of the bed, holding the blanket tight in my hands. I didn't cry. I just sat there, still, trying to feel something that wasn't pain. Lily was still asleep. Her soft breath was the only sound in the room. I stood up and walked to the kitchen. The floor was cold under my feet. The coffee pot was empty. I opened the fridge and saw last night's food untouched. I knew he hadn't eaten. Maybe he had dinner with her. I closed the fridge and leaned against the counter. I felt tired, but not just in my body. It was the kind of tired that sits deep in your bones, the kind that sleep cannot fix. That week, Ryan was more distant than ever. He stayed out late every night. When I asked if he was okay, he gave short answers. I'm fine. Just busy. Don't start. He looked at me like I was a problem, not like his partner, not like someone he once loved, just something in the way. I spent most of my days with Lily. I played with her, sang to her, fed her, and changed her. I kissed her cheeks and told her stories. She was the only soft thing in my life. Her laughter kept me going. Sometimes I wished she could stay small forever. I didn't want her to grow up and see what I had become. A woman who smiled on the outside but was falling apart inside. One evening, Ryan came home smelling like perfume. Not mine. I knew the scent. It was sweet and heavy. It stayed in the air long after he passed. He didn't even notice me sitting on the couch. He went straight to the bathroom, humming a tune. Something snapped in me. I stood up, walked into the hallway, and waited for him to come out. When he did, I asked in a calm voice, "Are you seeing someone?" He paused. For the first time in weeks, he looked right at me. His eyes were cold. "Why do you care?" he said. That answer hit me harder than anything. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. He brushed past me and went to the kitchen. I followed. "You're a father, Ryan," I said, my voice shaking. "You have a family." He poured water into a glass like he didn't hear me. "Don't make this about Lily," he said. "This is between us." I wanted to scream, to throw the glass from his hand, but I didn't. I just stood there, trying to breathe. That night, I sat on the floor of Lily's room after she fell asleep. I looked at her tiny hands, her peaceful face, and I felt something new. It was not just pain or sadness. It was fear. I was afraid that she would grow up and think this was love, that she would stay with someone cruel because her mother did, that she would learn to smile through pain because she saw me do it every day. I pressed my hands over my face and whispered, "What do I do?" I stayed quiet, but my heart was screaming. The next day, I tried to talk to him again. I asked him to sit with me. I made tea and placed it on the table. He sat across from me with his arms crossed. I looked at him, really looked at him. His face was tired, but not like mine. His was tired of me. I could see it. I asked, "Do you want to stay in this family?" He didn't answer at first. Then he said, "I didn't ask for any of this." Those words felt like fire in my chest. I looked down at my cup. My hands were shaking again. I asked one more question quietly. "Do you love me?" He said nothing, just stood up and walked out the door. After that, I stopped asking. I stopped hoping. I did everything alone. I cooked, cleaned, bathed Lily, paid bills. I even learned how to fix small things around the house. He came and went. He slept in our bed, but might as well have been sleeping in another house. We were strangers sharing a roof. He gave money when I asked, but never asked if we were okay. He never kissed me goodnight. He never said my name anymore. I felt like a ghost in my own home. Some days I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the woman there. My eyes looked empty. My mouth had no smile. My voice was soft and tired. One Saturday, Lily had a small fever. I stayed up all night holding her. She cried and coughed. Ryan never came to check. In the morning, he got dressed and said, "I'm going out." I looked up from the couch where Lily lay on my chest and said, "She's sick." He didn't even look back. "She'll be fine. Don't be dramatic," he said, then closed the door behind him. That was the moment I broke. Not from anger, not even from sadness. I broke from the silence. I realized he was gone, not just physically. He had left me a long time ago. That day, I sat in the backyard with Lily wrapped in a blanket. The sky was clear. The wind was soft. I looked at the dry earth around me, the distant mountains, the stillness of the town. I felt the weight of my choices. I stayed for her. I stayed because I was afraid. But I knew something now. I could not raise Lily in this silence. I could not teach her that love means pain. I needed to protect her from his cold eyes, his sharp words, his absence. I needed to protect myself too, but I didn't know how to leave. I had no family nearby, no money of my own, no clear plan, just pain and a child and a heart full of fear. That night, as Lily slept in my arms again, I whispered to her, "I don't know when, but one day we will be free." Weeks passed and nothing changed. Every morning felt the same. Ryan woke up early and left without a word. Sometimes he came back before dark, sometimes long after. I stopped asking where he went. I stopped pretending to care. There was no more fight in me. I just moved through the day like someone lost in a dream, doing what had to be done, nothing more. I gave Lily breakfast, cleaned the house, folded laundry, and played soft music to fill the silence. Sometimes I caught myself standing in the middle of the room, staring at nothing. My hands would freeze, my thoughts would drift. I thought about what life had become, and I felt both tired and trapped. One night, Lily woke up crying. She had a nightmare. I picked her up and rocked her gently in my arms. Her tiny hands clung to my shirt. She whispered, "Mommy, don't let go." Those words hit me harder than I expected. I held her tighter. I kissed her forehead. I whispered back, "I won't." But in my heart, I knew I had already let go of so much. I had let go of love, of dreams, of myself. I had become quiet, soft, small. I was afraid to make noise, afraid to speak too much, afraid to be seen. Ryan didn't hurt me with his hands, but his silence and his cold looks had changed me more than I wanted to admit. The next morning, I watched Ryan walk past Lily without a word. She stood there holding her toy, waiting for him to say something, anything. He didn't even glance at her. She looked up at me, confused. I smiled and said, "Daddy is busy." But she looked sad. That sadness stayed with me all day. I knew then it was no longer just about me. It was about what she was learning, about what kind of love she thought was normal. I couldn't lie to myself anymore. Ryan didn't just forget about me, he was forgetting her too. I started looking for work again, something simple I could do from home or part-time. I had been out of work since Lily was born. I didn't have many skills, but I was willing to try. I searched online when Lily napped. I called local places quietly, not wanting Ryan to hear. I didn't want to explain why I was asking. I didn't want him to know I was planning to leave. It felt strange to say that in my mind, but I was. I didn't know when or how, but I had made the decision. I was going to leave him. Not because I stopped loving him. That love had already died. I was leaving because I couldn't stay in a place where I was slowly disappearing. One afternoon, I got a call from a small after-school center. They needed someone to help with reading. It was only a few hours a day. The pay was low, but it was something. I said yes. I arranged for a neighbor to watch Lily. Her name was Diane. She lived 2 houses down and had a daughter the same age. Diane was kind. She never asked too many questions, just smiled and said, "Let me know if you ever need anything." I told her, "Just for a few hours in the afternoon." She nodded and said, "Of course, Sophia. Anytime." That moment gave me a small kind of hope, like a tiny light in the dark. The first day at the center felt strange but good. The kids were loud and full of energy. I read simple books with them. I helped them sound out words. I smiled more in those few hours than I had in months. I forgot about Ryan. I forgot about the pain. I felt useful. I felt seen. On the walk home, I looked up at the mountains. The sky was wide and blue. The dry wind touched my face. I closed my eyes for a second and whispered, "I can do this." It was the first time I believed it. That night, Ryan came home late again. He was laughing on the phone as he walked in. When he saw me, he stopped. He looked surprised, maybe because I was smiling. I didn't speak. I just looked at him. He went straight to the bathroom and closed the door. I listened to the sound of water running. Then I looked at Lily, who was sitting on the rug playing with her toy horse. She looked up at me and smiled. That smile was everything. I sat down beside her and felt something change in me. I wasn't scared anymore. The next few days, I worked more. I spoke to Diane about maybe helping longer. She agreed. "Take your time," she said. "You're doing the right thing." I didn't tell her the whole story, but I think she understood. Some women just know. I began saving small amounts of money. I stopped buying anything extra. I used the same shoes, the same bag. I made meals that stretched for days. I didn't care about taste. I cared about leaving. One evening, Ryan came home angry. I had forgotten to move his clothes from the washer. He shouted, not loud, but sharp. "What do you even do all day?" I stared at him. Then I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I had done everything, and still, it was not enough. He looked confused. "What's so funny?" he asked. I shook my head. "Nothing," I said. "Just tired." But inside, I was not tired. I was done. That night I couldn't sleep. I sat by the window and looked at the stars. The dry wind passed through the trees. I thought about the girl I used to be, the one who moved to Taos full of hope. I thought about the man I fell in love with and the man he became. And I thought about Lily, her soft laugh, her tiny feet, her warm hands around my fingers. I had stayed too long. I had waited too long. But soon we would go. I didn't know where. I didn't care. I just knew I had to go. For her. For me. The morning I decided to leave felt like any other. The sky was clear. The kitchen was quiet. Lily was still sleeping. Ryan had already left. But inside me, something was different. I no longer felt afraid. I no longer asked what if. I just knew it was time. I packed only what I needed. A small bag with clothes for Lily and me, a folder with our documents, a little money I had saved from work. I looked around the house one last time. The couch where I cried alone, the table where he sat in silence, the door he walked through without goodbye. I felt no sadness now, only peace. This was not my home anymore. This was just a place we had survived. I called Diane and asked if she could drive us to the bus stop. She came without questions, just a warm look in her eyes. I carried Lily in my arms and stepped outside. The air was dry and hot. The mountains stood in the distance, calm and quiet. I didn't know where we would go. I only knew we were not staying. We drove in silence. Lily sat beside me with her little backpack. Diane parked the car and turned to me. She didn't say much, just reached for my hand and squeezed it. "You're brave," she said. I nodded. My throat was tight. I whispered, "Thank you." Then I stepped out with Lily and walked toward the station. The bus was late. We waited under the small shade near the bench. Lily played with a piece of string she found in her pocket. I watched the road. I was nervous, but I didn't doubt myself. Not anymore. When the bus finally arrived, I held Lily's hand tight and climbed in. We sat near the window. As the bus started moving, I looked back one last time. The road behind us was long and dry. The town was small in the distance. I closed my eyes and let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. It was done. We were gone. We stayed the first few nights with a woman I met online. She offered a room in exchange for help with her garden and cooking. Her name was Karen. She was older, kind, and quiet. She had a small house with a fence and flowers that were dry but alive. I helped her water them each morning. In the evenings, we sat outside and watched the sunset. She didn't ask much about my past. She just let me rest. Lily liked her. She helped her pick tomatoes and followed her around the house like a shadow. For the first time in a long time, we both slept without fear. I found work at a local learning center. Just a few hours a day, helping with small tasks. It was not much, but it was honest. I walked there with Lily in a stroller. On the way, we passed a bakery that always smelled like fresh bread. Lily would stop and take deep breaths. I laughed and told her, "One day we'll buy some." We didn't have money for extras yet, but I didn't mind. We had enough. That was new for me, to feel enough. Some nights I still thought about Ryan, not because I missed him, but because I didn't understand how he stopped caring, how someone could change so much. I wondered if he noticed we were gone, if he even looked. I never heard from him, not once, and maybe that was the answer. I used to dream he would call, say sorry, try to fix things. Now I was glad he didn't. I didn't need him anymore. That dream was gone, and I was still here, still standing, still trying. That was my strength. Lily grew fast. Her smile was brighter now. She laughed more. She started talking to her toys and making up songs. One day she asked, "Where's Daddy?" I froze. Then I said, "He doesn't live with us now. But we are okay. Just you and me." She looked at me for a moment, then smiled and said, "Okay." She went back to playing. That was it. No crying, no fear, just peace. Children don't need perfect families. They need love. And she had that. She had me. Karen helped me apply for a support program for single mothers. We got help with food and rent. It wasn't easy, but it was enough. I started feeling strong again. I walked taller. I looked people in the eye. I smiled and meant it. One afternoon, while folding clothes, I looked in the mirror. I saw a woman who had been broken but didn't stay broken. A woman who chose to protect her child, even when she had nothing. A woman who stayed too long but finally walked away. I saw myself, and for the first time in years, I felt proud. I didn't know what the future would bring. Maybe more struggle, maybe more change. But I knew we were on the right path, a path I chose, a path without fear. One evening, Lily sat on my lap and said, "You're the best mommy." I held her close and whispered, "And you are my whole world." I looked out the window. The sun was setting. The sky was soft and orange. A cool wind touched my face, and I smiled. Not because life was perfect, but because we were free. I hope you have enjoyed the story. Like and comment if you want to hear more soon.